Thank you for watching, liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing right now.
The problem today isn't that there's not enough information, it's that there's too much. It's not that there aren't ways to publish stuff to the internet, it's that there are many ways to do it. And a lot of noise comes with that signal. So we've got different problems than we used to have. Whereas information was handed to us from on high even a decade ago, now the information is there for anybody to publish and share and promote and create and consume, and it's a little overwhelming. It's just very overwhelming to the point where I can't keep up with email, text messages, my news aggregator with all my feeds, my social networks. Ugh, where does it end? How do you keep up with this information overload? It's gotten to the point where I've had to start doing this, even though I didn't want to. I love information. I'm an information junkie. The reason why I became an English major in college, and the reason why I have a degree in English education, is because I love teaching, I love learning, I love just consuming, I love producing, I love the whole thing. But imagine billions of people like me. And there are probably billions of people like me, maybe like you. How do we deal with this information overload? I've got an email here that really led me to do this video. I'm going to throw it out here for you to think about. As it relates to hardware components, Moore's Law does a fine job of explaining the limitation of transistors in relation to the exponential growth of such systems. Is an equivalent to Moore's Law for properly managing, controlling, accessing, and searching all the information that's available to us online. In other words, what are we to do when the content and searching mechanism becomes so overwhelming to the point that we may have to design better tools just for managing and viewing information? Well, despite a few of my lip stumbles there, I think you understand the point. Are we relying too much on the machine to figure out what's good and what's bad? I think we are. And I think that's where information overload is getting overwhelming. Because I could deal with information overload a couple of years ago because the tools hadn't accelerated to the point, and the mind share hadn't accelerated to the point where a lot more people were producing and consuming, and blah, 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 it just gets worse and worse and worse and bigger and bigger and bigger. So what I've done, and what I believe the future is for information overload, is going back to classic mode, if you will. Humans and machines. The internet is a connection between the two. Why then is research not? You might say, well, Wikipedia, that's humans and machines. Yeah, but that's a bit, how shall we say this? I don't know who's on Wikipedia. I don't know who's editing that article. If I have a question about, let's say, astronomy, I'm going to turn to Dr. Phil Plait. He's a friend of mine, a fellow blogger at badastronomy.com. Because I know he's got the information. Am I going to go to Google? Sure. Am I going to try other search engines? Maybe. But if I want the direct answer, I'm going to throw it to him. If I have a question about gaming, who's the first group of people that I turn to? Here's a clue. It's you. The people who follow me on YouTube, hardcore gamers. The people in the chat room at live.pirillo.com. Carm? Is that a new TLD? I don't know. My mouth must be suffering from word overload. I don't know, babbling overload. I probably sound like I'm babbling now, but hopefully I'm going to start to make sense in a second. The solution to the problem of information overload isn't to be found, I believe, in software. It's to be found in us. And where we come together on the internet is how we're able to overcome these problems. Information overload just being one of them. I've already started doing this today. And I mean today in like this present era today. If I have a question, I'll throw it out there. I'll be streaming live on the web at live.pirillo.com, and I'll say, hey, who knows the answer to this? And I'll get responses. varied responses, but responses nonetheless. I could have gone to a search engine and done a similar lookup, but it was just so much easier for me to ask my community. And I got the answer I was looking for, especially if it was partially factual, partially opinion-based. Because is there such a thing as 100% either way? I don't know. Not for me to decide, and of course, I guess it's contingent on the specific question being asked or the research being done. But I do believe that we are failing ourselves if we do not take into consideration the human element in all of this. Yes, we can use software and we can use hardware, and it may get to the point where it is so intelligent and knows so much about us that it could give us the right answer. But ultimately, without that human connection, is it ever going to be 100%? Really? Do you believe that? So we deal with information overload by shutting down or by taking a simpler approach. It's so much easier to winnow down your resources that may be available to you at any given time. So if I want to ask a technical question and I can ask it in 140 characters or less, I'll throw it out to my followers on Twitter. I've got 10,000 people on Twitter with a wide variety of backgrounds, which is why I like Twitter. It's not just geeks. It's really not just geeks. And I like that because some of the questions I have aren't related to tech. Some of them are. Some of them aren't. Twitter's a great community. The software brought us together. It's surfacing that intelligence. Lets me ask the question and receive the responses and organize them however I see fit. Without that human factor, I don't think we're ever going to overcome information overload. Humans will help us clear out the noise and get to that signal a lot quicker than I think software ever will. Not to disappoint all of those out there who are researching how to make software do exactly what human beings are already doing and are likely going to do as long as we can think, so long as we can continue to think for ourselves, but that's another problem for another day. That's the future. That's the solution for me. Information overload is turning to my friends. You are my solution, and I'm very grateful that the internet exists to help me get to information. I'm very grateful that you exist to help me make sense of that information as it relates to me in an ad hoc basis. Like I say, community at large. You know me, period. Wherever I am, you know me. You know of me. That's that human connection. It's not because we're friends on YouTube. It's not because we're friends on Twitter. It's not because we're friends on any social network. It's you and me. It's us. That's the connection. That's what helps me overcome the overload. And even with you publishing content, I take it in when I can, but I have so many people that I love following that I can't take it all in. So I just rely on you to tell me what's good. I know, maybe it's lazy of me. Well, they don't call it the lazy web for nothing. It certainly is a heck of a lot easier to deal with all the stuff out there if I have people like you who surround me. And hopefully I'm someone who surrounds you in a strictly, friendly sense, not like the Atari game Surround. Am I the only one who remembers that video game? Yikes. The silence, as they say, was deafening. If you don't want to remain silent, my email address is chris@pirillo.com. I warned you. I do get a lot of email, and I do suffer from information overload. But if you have something intelligent to add to the conversation, or if you want to extend it and ask another good question of how we deal with today's problems, or how you deal with today's problems, you can email me, or just leave a follow-up response in my blog at chris.pirillo.com, where it can be tracked with a greater degree of ease. There tend to be more intelligent conversations happening there than on other websites. YouTube! First! There, got it out of the way. Now the person who says first is no longer first. How do you deal with those people? That's another problem. Any other way, you're welcome to join us in our chat room, which is open all the time. We're typically talking tech. Every once in a while, we dive into these deeper conversations, and this is, I think, very relevant no matter your age. You may think, oh, this doesn't apply to me because I'm just so young and I'm into other things. Trust me, you have to deal with it as much as we do. And by we, I mean people who are over... Ponzi plucked my first gray hair the other day. Did you guys see that picture on Flickr? Maybe you were overwhelmed. Maybe you already suffered from information overload. And I'm pretty sure that was TMI. Certainly was TMI for me. Yikes. Anyway, you're welcome to join us in our chat room. I'm streaming this video live. Well, not this one, but I mean, I'm streaming video and audio live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at live.pirillo.com. We'll see you later.